Revit Architecture ships with a fairly substantial library of family content that you can access quickly and easily, as we've already seen. However, even with this resource, you will quickly find there are items lacking from the out-of-the-box offerings. You could, of course, build these items yourself, but doing so would require knowledge of the family editor and a decent investment in time and effort. Fortunately, alternatives do exist. There are many websites available that offer Revit content for download, and many such items are free of charge. The most accessible choice is Autodesk's own Seek website, available directly from within the Revit software. All we have to do is go to the Insert tab and type in a search in the field, and we're taken directly to Seek and presented with the results of our query. So let's go ahead and give it a look. Here I am in a file called Using Seek from the exercise files. I'm going to go over here to the Insert tab, and if we look at our floor plan, we're kind of missing a few plumbing fixtures, so let's go ahead and type in bathtub. And press enter, and that will execute the search. It will launch my web browser and take me to Autodesk Seek. Now, you'll see that there's two main categories listed over here, generic and manufacturer. Autodesk Seek is actually designed to be a repository for all sorts of manufacturer content. So what Autodesk is intending to do is get various manufacturers on board creating their items, the various items they sell and they want us to specify as architects, and making them available in Seek. In this case, I'm going to keep it fairly generic, and I'm just going to go with the generic library that's offered by Autodesk. And that gives me 8 choices. And when I scroll down, I'm going to stick with a pretty simple, boxy looking bathtub here. I don't need anything terribly fancy. Now, in some cases, like this one, you'll be presented with several versions of the same family in different file formats. Well, we're in Revit 2011, so I naturally want to choose the most recent one if I can. And I'm going to click the Download Selected button right here. Now, if you've never used Seek before, if this is your first time, you're probably going to be presented with a screen that's going to ask you to read the usage statement and agree to the terms. So you should definitely do that the first time, and then you can click accept, and then from then on, it will just allow you to download as I'm doing here. We have 2 choices. We can open it directly in Revit, or we can save the file. I'm going to go ahead and open it directly in Revit, and that takes me into the file directly in the family editor. Now, we have a whole chapter coming up on the family editor later in the training series, so we're not going to really talk about any of the details of being in the family editor right now. The only command we need to know about is this button right over here on the menu, and we're going to click on that, and that will load this family directly into the project I have open on screen. Not only that, it'll actually start placing that component directly in my model, but as you can see, it's a rather smallish tub that I have on my cursor right now. So let's jump over here to the type selector, open up the list, and look for another choice. Our bathrooms are 5 feet wide, so a 60-inch choice will probably be a better option. So I'll choose a 60 by 32 and move into this general location here. Zoom in on the toilet room, tap my space bar a couple times, and like other pieces of content, this particular one will try and snap itself to the nearby walls, which is very handy. Hold down my wheel, drag over here, place another one in this restroom right here, and I'll go ahead and press escape twice to get out of the command. ZF to zoom to fit, and basically more of the same if you want to search for a vanity, if you want to search for closet poles and shelves. Some of these items are available in the out-of-the-box library, and others you could go out to Seek for. So between the two, you ought to be able to find everything you need. Now, one last thing that I want to look at before we close out of this file. We're pretty much complete with our layout, but a couple movies ago, I promised you that we would deal with these very sharp corners right over here at the wall intersections. It's actually a fairly easy thing to remedy. Let's take a quick look. We'll go over here to the Modify tab, and on the Geometry panel, there's a button here called Wall Joins. And Revit often has a few different options of ways that it can join your walls, and in this case, it's just doing a nice sharp corner, which may or may not be appropriate. What you do is you get this little square here, and you just kind of move it over the intersection that you want to adjust and click, and that will put you in the wall join mode. And on the options bar, you'll have various options. So we can do a butt condition or a miter condition, or we can square it off. Now, you've got next and previous because in some cases, there might be more than one butt option or more than one miter option. So you can click next, next, and you see how it toggles between them. Well, actually, the square off is what we want in this case, and that will make a nicer, more logical join at that condition. Click over here, do the same thing, and that will take care of that one. And again, if you want to consider other options, we could square it off that way or this way. You can choose whichever one you prefer. And then when you're done, you click the Modify tool, or again, press Escape twice to complete the operation. Save the file and call it done.